If you are stuck in life, if you've made mistakes that have cost you a lot, if you feel you've lost at life, you failed at life, and you are kind of at a place where it feels like you've hit rock bottom and you're desperate to change, somewhere you can't let go of who you really wanted to be and everything that you wanted to achieve that you haven't, and that you're really struggling and you are desperate to change. Just feeling miserable is not good enough. The moment you realize that this has to change, then what do you need to do? Step 1, take accountability, take responsibility. Not just for what it is and what is going to be, but also for everything that has happened so far. I know children vulnerable, or people who are vulnerable and really can't defend themselves, and that's a completely different ball game altogether. But what I'm saying is, often I have found, and you will find, and almost every successful and unsuccessful person has found, that we have a large hand to play in perpetuating our own misery. So even if the circumstances are bad, human beings have a tendency to make things worse, especially if we are not self-aware, we are not aware of our dark side, we have not really understood our own subconscious, our own conscious, then we keep repeating patterns that are negative, patterns that are actually coping mechanisms that perhaps were very, very useful at a certain point of time but no longer serve us. So if you are miserable, you're unhappy, you feel that you have a lot of potential and yet you feel you've missed out on life, you've taken a lot of wrong decisions, and let us say life has come crumbling down on you, then the first step is to take accountability, take responsibility. Because that is the place where our power lies. Even though if we have been victimized, which a lot of people have been, sadly, yet we need to find the courage within us to get out of that victim mode. Because the moment we choose to take power back in our own hands, we decide that we are going to create our own reality, we are going to create the life that we want. That is the moment change can and will happen. Up until we keep shifting blame onto others, okay, he did this to me, she did this to me, and even if it is true, even if a lot of people manipulated you, you faced betrayal, you were victimized, and perhaps in the most vile way, yet you still need to walk away. Because the biggest issue is not what happened. The biggest issue is how that impacted us and how that kind of negativity can embed itself in our psyche. That kind of cruelty often breeds a lot of shame, a lot of self-loathing, and there's a severe lack of self-compassion. So when that happens and we find ourselves unable to cope with everything and we lack the tools to deal with it, we lack a proper support system, then often we resort to victim mode, which is a protective mechanism, and it does serve its purpose. To some extent, it keeps us alive, it kind of keeps us from going insane. Our brain, our mind is able to make sense, because especially if you're a child or if you are extremely vulnerable and you encounter malevolence in its worst form, then it is very difficult to make sense of it. And to protect us, our brain will resort to victim mode, where he did this and she did this and I can't do anything. And of course the aspect of learned helplessness comes in. But despite that, we need to get to a place where we can allow ourselves to choose better. And for that to happen, to do better, to choose better, to become better, to change our very being, it is important that we take accountability. Accountability along with compassion, along with self-compassion for the person who endured all of that, who made those mistakes, who surely did not know what we know today. And maybe if you had the right support system, maybe if you had the right tools, maybe if certain things had not played out a certain way, maybe if you had been dealt better cards in life, you would not have made those choices. But that's long gone. We made the choices we made the mistakes we made, and now it's time to move on. So slowly we have to choose to let go of everything that binds us to the past, to the victim mode, where the power always lies with the other person. Because then it takes away your ability to respond in a powerful, self-reliant way. So if you did this to me and that is why I'm in this condition, if he did this and she did this to me and that's why I'm here, then I can never get out of here. And that builds a certain hopelessness, a certain despair. It's like a dark abyss. You don't want to go down that hill. It's a very desolate and dark place with nothing but destruction. So, if you really want to change, then it has to start with us. It has to start in a way where we choose to let go of, if I am using the right word, our oppressors, our people who victimized us, our abusers, or people who manipulated us, or people who betrayed us, or perhaps of all of our own self that made those wrong choices, that made those choices in moments of weakness, in moments of lack of self-awareness, where our subconscious, where our emotions, where our own negativity, where our own psychological pathology was running the show. We have to let it go and take control back. And that is when true change can start to happen, because that is when we believe, since I am the creator, I am the point of power, I am in the position of power, now I make the choices to change my life. This is the change that I needed to make in my life after encountering things that altered the course of my life. And if you found the video useful, do drop in a like. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great life ahead.